there it is. There's the intake. Well, you can definitely tell I'm not a welder, but because some of the welds look really nice and some of them are pretty spotty, you know, but that's why I use extra rod and extra argon. It's just like, but I'm kind of happy with it, you know. It's going to face right down there. I think the next thing we're going to do is just figure out how we're going to get the piping into this and out of the turbocharger into the intercooler. We'll probably have to cut the intercooler. Not sure yet. But let me remove this first so I can get that out of the way. You know, and yeah, I think that's kind of cool. All right, let me get some piping and let me see what I can get for going into there. Well, I took the pipe off. We don't need that anymore. What it is, just to get us going, I would like to kind of use this coupler, you know, to go onto the intercooler, because what does it have? It has a bypass for the idle circuit. One less thing I have to build. You know, and of course, if I change everything around and build another idle bypass, okay, I'll do that. But for now, I just want to get this going. So I started looking around in my bin and trying to find, like, this is 2 1/4 inches right here, which fits that. Down the bottom of the intercooler, it's about 3 inches. Maybe a little under, but it's pretty much that. And I was looking around going, do I have any pipes that expand out that I can just put in there to make run? You know, it's just, the whole thing is get the thing going. Well, I found this. A friend of mine gave me this because he did a Banks turbo kit on his, I believe it was a 7.3 Power Stroke. I'm not sure. It could have been a 6 liter, but I think it's a 7.3 Power Stroke. And this is just a piece of steel pipe bent up, you know, mandrel bent, you know, it has a Ford part number on it. And I'm looking at this going, all right, well, this is about 2 1/4 and this is about 3 inches. And I put them up to each other and just like, yep, it goes in, you know. It's a little tight, but it will go in, just like that's a little tight and will go in. So it'll nice and seal. What does that do? Well, I looked at the bend, and the bend goes right down. And I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know until I'm going to cut it right here to give me an equidistant end either way. I can trim this back, but I just want a little bit, just in case I have to use this as an intercooler pipe. I'll cut this down with the bandsaw, my portable bandsaw, and put it down there. And the thing is, it comes down off the turbo like that, makes the bend, and it looks like it goes right into the intercooler. And I'm sitting there going, no. You know, it's better to be lucky than good, but I don't know if I'm lucky yet because I got to cut it and see if it goes down. Because I tried to put it down there and it's just too big, you know. So I got to chop this up and let me see if I can make it work. You know, if it does, I'll laugh my ass off. All right, let me throw this in the vise. Let me chop it down. Let's see what we got. Oh my God, I got the lower pipe. That's the hardest one. I mean, we have no expansion room for the radiator, but that means it'll get us going. We need to expand it, cut this back, move this over, weld some stuff. Wow, I love it. Let's do this. Let's do the turbocharger side, and let's see what we can work out and do it over there because, oh my God, I am absolutely lucky on this one. All right, let's do the other side, and hopefully let's even think about doing the air intake. Oh, another thing, take a look at this. One thing I wanted to show you was this, the alternator. Remember I moved the alternator from here down to here. Can't do it. I got to move it back because of this, the water pump. I completely forgot about it. You know, it's one of those mistakes that I made, but oh well. Then I'm going to try and see about, you know, working with this alternator. What I did do was I flipped the pulley so it gave me about a 1/2 inch or a centimeter. I don't think it's going to work. I might have to lift it up, move it out, you know, but it's so close. I don't really know if it's going to work or not. I mean, it's like right there, but we'll come to that juncture. We come to that juncture. We have that intake pipe from the intake manifold to the intercooler. We also have the idle control valve all squared away. Now we have that side of the engine basically, the air is basically done except for, you know, vacuum and big boosters, and, you know, just minor stuff, you know. But we have the injection system idle circuit basically done, which I'm pretty happy about, and have a pipe to the intercooler. Now we got to get a pipe to this side of the intercooler. And remember when the way it's all miscombobulated down there, I'm just going to make something that's going to work. And I mean, I'm going to put it in there, and just so if I ever, you know, when this thing gets all set up to me to start, it'll start. That's the whole thing. I am not doing this for permanency. And the reason is because this turbocharger and this manifold, there's a good chance it's not going to be the final iteration of this motor, you know, of this car. And we have to build in expansion possibilities, you know, for the intakes and all this other stuff, you know, and that's kind of what, you know, the main goal is here is we have expansion possibilities. And we put a bigger turbocharger on here with a different, you know, build a manifold and a turbocharger, that if we're going to go to all that problem to be the final turbocharger, then we'll finally cut and re-weld the intercooler. But we're not going to do it now because the main goal is to get this thing running, sorted out. After everything is sorted out, then you muck about with it. Now, what did I find? I went through my whole pile of crap that I've had from past rally cars. And what I found was, like, from my first rally car, my Audi that I built is a 83 or Quattro. This right here is, seeing how my boot was ripped, you know, the basically from the turbocharger to the intake hat for the CIS system. What it was is the parts were just so expensive I couldn't afford to do that and to keep the car. So what I did is I went to the junkyard, I found an old 5000 turbo elbow, 2 pieces of exhaust tubing, you know, one small to fit in here, one with an expansion to fit into here, and this went onto it and it worked fine. So the biggest thing is we need to pull this apart and see how close it fits, because this section is pretty close to that section. It's a little smaller, and I might be taking the putting something to expand it. But other than that, I might just use a regular straight hose to go up. We're not going to have the recirculation valve possibility, but who cares? I don't care if I have a recirculation valve. The main thing I care about is having, you know, the whole system connected without any money involved. And that way, when I do go to a different manifold, decide to build a manifold and put a turbocharger on it, that'll be the final iteration, and that will go to the intercooler, which the intercooler, the bottom pipe will be chopped off, moved upward, and then put in a correct position so we have a very small hose that's going to go in there, and still have the ability to pull the intercooler out and all this other stuff. So that's kind of my goal, but we'll see how it works later on down the road. But for now, let's see if I can get this to work, and then we can start building the intake system for the turbocharger, for the air mass meter and everything, and for the air filter, because I think I figured out something kind of neat. But let's see if let's first go here, and then we'll progress to the next step. So let's just let me just do this. Here's the piece that we took off of the intake. This thing, if you put it on the intercooler straight and you turn it like this, okay, turn it straight up pointing towards the turbocharger, it'll go straight into the turbocharger, pretty much. You have to clock the turbocharger this way in order for me to weld a straight pipe onto it, and that way it'll work. But seeing how I have to weld a straight piece of pipe onto this, I'm going to change plans and use this. I found this in the bin, just a piece of old exhaust tubing, same diameter, and I'm just going to go like that, depending on where it actually goes. But right there, it butts up like this. If you go like this, it goes right into the turbocharger. You put this hose on it, and there we go. I mean, you have to remember, this is just to get it running. It's not going to be the final iteration. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I do use this under, you know, experimenting with boost levels with this turbocharger, I am going to weld a tab onto here and weld a tab onto the turbocharger to lock this to that so it doesn't blow off. I'm not worried about this to the intercooler. I'm more worried about the turbocharger to this is where I'll be worrying about it blowing off. So let me clean this up, put it underneath there, mark it, weld it, and we will get this thing back on back on this and move on to the next piece. Well, let me pull all the rags out of the turbocharger or the bottom of the turbocharger. Let's put these things on and I'll tack it in. That should get us going. Let me throw this on and then we can get on to the intake. Well, that's pretty good for temporary. Now let's go up and do the intake that goes onto the inlet of the impeller for the turbocharger. Here's the original intake that came with the 3B. Pretty much you have a recirculation valve. This goes somewhere. This is the turbocharger actuator or boost control valve, and this is the air mass meter. So what do I want to do? And this thing already has a filter on it. Let's put this on here for now, just to let it sit on it. There's the cone filter I had on it, which is just a hot air intake. Don't get me wrong, these things are great when you're actually building a car, just to get it on the road. All right, let's see if proof of concept work. These things are fantastic. You throw them on there, and they work really well and they sound cool. But I mean, the big thing is, the heat coming out of the turbocharger just saturates it, and just you're not gaining anything right at that point, And plus, I'm not really thrilled with this one right here, even though it's a real K&N, but I can. It just, I don't know, for some reason I just don't like where it is next to the turbocharger. So what I want to do is want to relocate it. What I want to kind of do what the Sport Quattro did, just in theory. But if you take a look here in the picture, take a look to the left-hand side. That's where the filter assembly is, and they cut a hole, I would assume, I don't really know without having the car up on the lift, to the outside of the wheel well to draw in cold air. But the problem is, take a look at the base of the filter. The base of the filter is aluminum. What's that? A heat sink. That's going to get all the heat off of the downpipe, and it's going to sit there, and it's going to just heat soak the entire thing. So I'm looking at it going, all right, well, I want to get it away from the exhaust. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I got to have it travel around the exhaust and see, where exactly am I going to put it. So I decided to look at the front end of the car and to see how things were going to work. But let me bring you over to the front and show you what I was thinking. All right, well, what we got here is we have, the air mass meter, that cone filter, whatever. It just takes up too much room. And the thing is, we need an expansion possibility. What happens if we do a different manifold and put a big turbocharger here? Just, whether or not it's going to work or not is another thing, but, we just happen to have it because it looks cool. Well, we also need to have the air mass meter flexible enough that we can move to a certain point and actually, I want it as close to the turbocharger as possible. That's just me. And I want to keep it in this general vicinity, but I won't want the air cleaner here takes up tons of room. We don't want that. So we want to get the air. We want to have enough room so we can expand the turbocharger. We want to get the air that's going to be cold or cooler, in the coldest section of the engine to go into the motor. So I was looking around going, well, what do I have that would make it work? So I took this. This is the other part, or the second half of the power stroke down tube or tube that we used, for the intake of the for the intake to the intercooler. What it is, I'm sitting there looking at it going, if I have this on this right here, it goes right there. And what can I do? Well, I have plenty of movement where I can move. I can put a much bigger turbocharger on it, and if I want to, adjust the pipe, I can adjust the pipe. Now I'm sitting there going, all right, how can I make the air cleaner fit somewhere around in here? Now I was sitting there thinking, going on top of here, what? wait a minute, this hole right here that's on top of, you'll see it's in back of here, but you can see the portion right here. That is for the air conditioning. Are we going to have air conditioning in this car? No! So, what did I look? I went into the junk pile again, and I found this. This was another freebie that I got. It was an air filter assembly, which is, it was for an old autocross car. And I'm sitting there looking at it going, well, that pipe is the exact same pipe as this. And it goes onto that. Well, I am going to have to weld up this section anyway, to close off the place for the air conditioning condenser. And I'm looking at it going, well, we have all that room where the air conditioning condenser was. Why don't I take this, drill a hole, and then I can put it right where the air conditioning condenser was. It's not taking up any more room. I can put it right there. Plus, look, it has a K&N filter, but it's the K&N filters that I like. It's basically a stock replacement. Just have to, you oil it and everything, but there's tons of surface area. Also, it will be inside the cabin on the bottom. So it's not sucking in all the heat from the from the downpipe. And I'm looking at that going, I think that's going to be kind of cool. So how about this? I am going to drill a hole right there, that size, and let's see if it works. If it works, I'll be amazed. Because, the thing is, what I have to do is I have to cut out this section of the cowling right here, but I was going to plate it anyway. Because we're only going to have a heater core. The heater core and heater fan go right there, and I can adjust everything. And the top, I can, cut these, mounts all off, cut this, and just make holes in it for an air box, with a screen on it. And it's drawing all the cold air from here, and you get all this right here. Even though this does act as a extractor, but it's, I thought that might be kind of cool. So let me go to my hole saw, let me drill it in there, and see how it works. I'm going to probably have to drill it from the inside out, because I have to figure out where this is going to go here, but I can adjust it up either way, and I just think it's cool, Well, no better time than the present. Let me get my drill, and let's pop it in. Finally. Here it is. As you saw, I pounded up this, and I pounded out the firewall a little bit. This is a little bit curved, but I'm going to pound it back because there's plenty of room. I just overdid it in some areas just to get it there, and then I got to weld this hole right there. But the main thing is, see this lip? I got this box on the other side of the lip, so it's stationary. That's what I care. So let's go back up, and let's put the pipe in, and let's see how it looks. Here's the pipe. What I'm going to do, I have to weld a couple of tabs here and here, at least one tab, just so it's stationary. That's a big thing. Then I got to cut this this cowling piece to fit this, because actually I want to maybe go up a little bit more. I don't really know, but right now I'm pretty happy with it. And looking in there, I can cut a lot of this stuff out. This is the hole that I was going to have to patch anyway. So if I'm utilizing this hole, I'll take this all out, and that way it's all going to be good. And the thing is, what I will do is, when that cover from the 4000 that comes all the way over here, I think I'm going to cut most of these tabs off, just drill a thing full of holes, and have it and probably cover it up. I'm not really sure. If not, I'm just going to slice the plastic off and have it as a secondary system. I don't really know yet, but the first thing is, let me grab the cutter and let me cut this up and see if we can make this fully functional. So I actually would like to pound this back down a little bit, just so it goes on the other side. and that way I can seal it up with sealer or something like that. Not really sure how I'm going to do it yet, but I will do it. All right, let me go get the cutter and let me just start experimenting. This is what I'm planning on doing. This is where I got the relative edge for the airbox right here. I'm going to go about 10 mil in and trim everything out so I have a roughly 10 millimeters of excess metal that overlaps this box. And then I'm going to show you what I plan on doing with that, and there's a reason for it. Let me get the whiz wheel out and cut this, and we will make then we'll get on to showing you the reason why I am doing this way. Here we are at the airbox. What it is. You're probably wondering to yourself, why didn't I just make a template, plunge cut, and shove the airbox up through and bolt it in? Well, there's a kind of a reason for that. What I wanted to do is I'm trying to mitigate having water go into the cabin. And you know, even with this is going to be covered with that plastic trough, you're always going to get water in there somehow. If you don't want it there, it's going to get there. All right. So what did I do? Well, I made this so I can bend it up and make a dam all the way around it, so when the water comes in, it just flows down out the port that it's supposed to go out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm going to try something different. I still got to weld up these holes right here, right here. I got to weld studs onto the bottom down here, and I'm probably just going to use, you know, like a double-ended stud or a nut and a washer, something like that, just so it'll all seal up. I'm not really sure how I'm going to fix everything. It's probably going to be a bolt welded to the bottom of this and a bolt welded to the top of this, and then they're all going to be, you know, it's all going to be sealed so there's no perforations into the actual cabin. That's what my plan is. Whether or not it's going to work is going to be another thing. So let me get onto it. Let me start bending up all this stuff, and then we can see about taking the mounts off of that and slipping this thing in there and seeing if it works. It'd be great if it does. Well, I gotta pound this in flat or more flat to the airbox, which I'm gonna do later, and I'm trying to think about where I'm going to put the drain for the bottom of this, you know, bottom of the airbox. Let me go see if I can find something, and I know exactly what I want, but I gotta find it. Let me go find it. I'll come back and we'll finish that up, and that'll be the end of this episode, you know. That's pretty much it. All right, let's go. Well, I found what I'm going to use for a drain plug, but I don't have any tubing or any connectors to connect it. So I'm going to stop the video right here. I put this back on, and this is what I'm going to use. This right here is pretty much a drain plug or a one-way valve for the air conditioning systems on the Volkswagen Audi group stuff. What it does is it sits like this, water comes out, opens the flap, and the flap closes. I want that because no debris will get in, because this is, this is filtered air where it's going to be draining out. Easy enough. I'm going to put it right where the condenser originally comes out. I just have to make a plate, but I don't have any tubing to go from here to there and anything to put on it. So we'll just do that in the cleanup episode. But at least I know what I'm going to use. All right, what did we do in this episode? Pretty big, actually. We hillbillied up a manifold. I used a piece of scrap aluminum and a bunch of blades, and we built a manifold. I mean, yeah, look at the welds, You can even see I didn't clean them up because it just, you have to remember when I was welding the cast, when you see all that black bubbly trash come up, I'm just dumping rod into it. That's what I'm doing. Just dumping rod to clean it up. And even then, it still didn't clean up that well, but it cleaned up enough where I think it's going to hold. I haven't pressure tested it yet, but I got it on there, and it's like anything. The biggest thing about having a welder, especially an aluminum welder like a TIG, is that you can redo it. It's your time. Yeah, it's argon and rod, but that's kind of what it is. But and you're also learning. I mean, every time, you can definitely tell I haven't welded in a little while on aluminum. So it's just like, damn, but that's beside the point. But we got the manifold in. That's in its final position. We made a problem. I moved the alternator. Shouldn't have, because I need to use the alternator. There's a real good chance I'm going to have to find another one, just because it has to be thinner. I don't know. I'm going to see if I can make something work, but that's when I pull the front end off, and that's when I do that. I'll reset the alternator and figure that out. But we have all the intercooler tubing done. We have the intake tubing done. We have the airbox done. This is in final position. Look at all this room, which is awesome. You can expand the turbocharger and whatever. This pipe right here, you're probably going to ask, where did I get it? Well, I found it in my junk pile, and it's either a Toyota or a Subaru. One of the two. It's one of the two. There's no markings on it whatsoever. So I assume it's pretty old, so I assume it's like an AE86 or something like that I used to have. But that's beside the point. I'm pretty happy with the way this came out. I'm really happy with the way this came out. And this pipe right here is, thinking more about it, this is a 6-liter Ford turbo diesel. That's what it was. How can I put this? You can find a lot of them in junkyards because nobody wanted to fix them. They were such horrible things. Everything cost tons of money, and they broke, and I'd never buy one, but because I'm a Cummins guy, that's just what it is. Ever since owning a Cummins, a 12 valve, never go back. Yeah, it's noisy and you lose your hearing when you drive it, but man, they're freaking awesome. Especially, it's just an awesome vehicle. An engine, But that's beside the point. Other than that, all this stuff is, remember, you can do it. This is all recycled. This is all junk stuff that people were throwing away, including this. It was all stuff that people were throwing away. Or cars that I broke that was, that people would throw away. I used old exhaust tubing down on the bottom of the intercooler. Before I even think about starting this thing, that thing's going to be sitting in vinegar for about 3 weeks to get all the rust off so I can clean it up and paint it. Or not even paint it, just clean it up and oil it so there's no particulate to get into the intercooler. Everything is pretty rough at this point because everything needs to be cleaned and all this other stuff. It's a whole bunch of stuff that you have to do. But we now have aerial access to the distributor, which I really, really like. What am I going to do next video? I don't know. I'm at a real impasse. I keep looking at the dashboard, figuring that has to be done next. I think because it's the next huge piece in the puzzle, and I'm looking at the dashboard, and it's going to be a lot harder than I thought. We'll see what I can do. I got to really study how and where I got to cut and how I got to mold it in. That's the $1 million question. I don't know yet, but we will get onto it. We will do this. I am bound and determined to get this shit box done, you know. And thank you very much for showing up. Remember, you can do it. I am nothing special. I'm just someone who's too dumb to say no. That's it. But I really appreciate you showing up, and hopefully you guys can build something. And hey, if you see something that would be better than my ideas, freaking put it on YouTube. You know, we all need to learn from each other. All right. Well, thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye now. Well, welcome to my commute to my barn today. Check this out. We had our first winter snowfall, and this is my commute. This now means that I can't move anything. Unless that's four-wheel drive and snow tires. Oh well. Well, there's my commute. Pretty interesting, huh? I mean, it's pretty, but oh my God.